So, again, nowadays, either somebody who's lost their job or looking at reinventing themselves as kind of I call it kind of the update of our own software, or somebody who's just basically preparing themselves to go into life. What kind of are the best and most essential assets that people should have nowadays?
Well, I think the first thing to say is just having talked about some of the, there are challenges to the entrepreneurial life. The flip side of that is just, this is an extraordinary time that we live in, extraordinary opportunities, and a hungry crowd, a hungry audience out there for great products, great services, and great marketing. So I think the assets the person needs to have, the things we spoke about, the commitment, the determination, the ability to focus. Mm-hmm. And looping back to our earlier part of our conversation, the ability and willingness to master stuff. My biggest frustration with the business owners, and we have some incredible people doing incredibly well, but one of my frustrations with some business owners is they dabble in things, and you can't do brilliantly well dabbling in stuff. And you know this, they'll come along, they'll do the odd seminar, and they'll dip their toe in a little bit of selling skills, and they'll dip their toe in a little bit of Google, but they don't master things. When Google AdWords launched over 10 years ago, the ability to advertise on Google, I remember it was a Friday. I locked myself in. I was working from home. I had a little room at home at the time. I kind of locked myself in my room on a Friday afternoon, and I basically came out on the Monday afternoon. My wife would say, I think I came out to watch The Sopranos on Saturday night, but that was it, because to me it was right, we master this now. And it concerns me how few people are willing to master the core elements of their craft, of their art. Because the entrepreneurial life, it is an art, There's the art of creating whatever it is. There's the art of selling it. There's the art of looking after your customers, etc., etc., etc. It's not a huge number of things, but those few core things, you'd better be willing to really obsess about getting very, very good at them, because the rewards, if you do, are immense, because most of your competitors are not. Most of your competitors are doing the dabbling. So I think it's that willingness to learn, it's the passion, determination, and then as the business grows, other skills come in. The obvious one is the willingness to let go, and outsource and not do the whole thing yourself, and that's tough, So at different stages of the entrepreneurial game, I think we face different challenges, and then I think for me the other thing is kind of the inner game. So for me, definitely in my life, but I believe for everybody, how you think, how you run your mind, the belief systems you have or choose to have, all of that, as the years gone by, I've actually become increasingly convinced is as important, if not more important, than the marketing, the online marketing, the rest of it. Because I can show you how to do all the marketing stuff pretty quickly. I can have 500 people in a room, show them all the absolute proven ways to make money from Google AdWords. And out of those 500 people, some will do brilliantly well, some will do okay, and a few will never bother and never get around to doing anything. Now, what's the difference that makes the difference? It's not the information and the knowledge, because it's the same. It's what's going on inside their heads. And so I think the entrepreneurial life is challenging enough that we have to sort of clear our own heads out and get on top of our own stuff, and get out of our own way. And to me, that's as important as anything else, which is why at the same time I've followed the business and the marketing, I have an equal fascination with all the various sciences and forms of knowledge about that, because to me that's just vital, absolutely vital.
With technology changing and evolving so quickly, especially in marketing and social media and so on, the current 2015, kind of what are your best tips and advice for people into making money with social media and internet marketing?
The number one thing is there's a lot of bombarding advice coming at us about what we should and shouldn't be doing, and there's huge numbers of options now. You've got Google, you've got Facebook, you've got Pinterest, you've got blogs, you've got Twitter and all the rest of it, and people are confused and they're daunted and they don't know where to start. And the number one thing is you've got to only focus on anything that gives you a proven return on investment. So one of the principles of effective marketing for a small, medium-sized business is what we call direct response marketing, which means if I go, in the old days, if I spent 100 quid on a ad in a newspaper, I wanted to get at least £100 back from that ad. And somewhere in the mix, that has disappeared in all this talk about social media and all the rest of it. So when people come to me and say, you should be doing more on Twitter, I'm like, okay, you show me if I spend A, any money, or B, time and effort, which is the same as money, on doing this in Twitter, you show me the return I'm going to get on the investment. And if they can't show you that return, move on to something else, because there's plenty that you can. Google AdWords, if you put £100 or dollars into it, you can see within 24 hours where that money is coming back. So on Google, for example, I won't do anything on Google AdWords unless I get a 400% return on investment. And you have to be tough about this as the entrepreneur. And you've got all these people around you, these web designers and that, lovely people, but they are pressuring you to do things that aren't always in your best interest. So my first thing is, don't get caught up by the technology. Stick to those fundamental marketing principles. In terms of where we're going, there's no doubt that the big shift and change where we're going is mobile. And when mobile phones started to be used more, people would come up to me at seminars and say, oh, you should talk more about mobile. And I said, well, actually, I'm not going to talk more about mobile because, okay, 6% of the population is using mobile, but we've got enough other things to do to focus on first. I think we've now reached critical mass. A lot of sources of online traffic are now at 50% mobile use. And the process that is involved for a mobile user is in many ways fundamentally different. So you've got to be on top of that. And you've got to be up to speed on that. And although people are daunted by it, the really good news is, I think there's there's going to be like a 2 to 4 year gold rush with mobile because everyone's daunted by it, everybody backs off it. And so you can advertise, for example, you can reach people on Facebook on mobile phones for next to nothing. It's unbelievably cheap. And so if you're willing to just get good at it and learn a few of the strategies, there are significant profits to be made. But don't be overwhelmed. Just use common sense,